Billionaire Clinton donor has massive announcement for Trump. President Donald Trump is still being criticized for his statements to the violence in Charlottesville, Virginia 2 weeks ago, but an unlikely figure has come to his defense. During an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Univision chairman and billionaire Haim Saban acknowledged that he and Trump differ on some issues, but had one statement that destroyed the liberal narrative about the president. "I disagree with the president with what appears to be a moral equivalence being drawn between the Nazis, who are shouting, 'Kill the Jews,' and the protesters who came to counter that statement," Saban said, referring to Trump's condemnation of white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and the KKK. Then he delivered the real message. "I do not believe that President Trump is a Nazi or anti-Semite," he said. After he defended Trump, the mega-donor went even further by slamming Black Lives Matter as clearly an anti-Semitic, anti-Israel group. Saban said the organization's official policy platform on its website refers to Israel as an apartheid state who is responsible for genocide. While Saban is a massive Democratic donor, he criticized former President Barack Obama in 2016 when he allowed a United Nations Security Council resolution to condemn an Israeli housing project in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Saban said he was deeply disturbed by Obama's actions against Israel, adding it harmed any long-term prospects for peace in the region. The Univision chairman's defense of Trump is significant, particularly given that he donated roughly $10 million to Hillary Clinton through various Democratic fundraising groups during the 2016 presidential election, and now he is defending the president. Also, he's actually Jewish himself, unlike so many of the critics who accused Trump of being an anti-Semite. Saban's rebuke of the leftist culture may also show Democrats are growing tired of the anti-Trump media and their constant overhyped outrage at everything the president does. Saban may be a top donor to the Democrat Party and the Clinton machine, but his message defending Trump is loud and clear. Many are growing tired of the media's unfair treatment of Trump when they spent years helping prop up Obama. And thankfully, many are starting to call the media out for their double standards. Please like and share this on Facebook and Twitter if you agree with Haim Saban's defense of President Trump. What are your thoughts on Saban's remarks? Alert! Pelosi betrays entire country with sick anti-American threat. If there is one thing that Americans are getting fed up with, it's the lack of bipartisan willingness to help get this country back on track. From the moment President Trump took office, Democrats have become outright rebellious, alongside some GOP traitors as well, preferring to let this nation implode rather than work together. Nancy Pelosi is letting people know that she would rather see this nation implode financially than work together with Trump. According to the Washington Times, Pelosi said that the GOP would have to pass a bill to raise the debt ceiling without any support from the Democrats. If this bill suffers the same fate as the Obamacare repeal bill that stalled out thanks to rebels within the GOP, the U.S. could very well default on its debts, a nightmare that would make 2008 look like an economic hiccup in comparison. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi said that getting a bill passed to raise the debt ceiling was not up to the Democrats, but the Republicans. With the White House, House and Senate under one-party control, the American people can expect and deserve a plan from Republicans to avert a catastrophic default, she stated. Even worse, Pelosi had the nerve to suggest that with so much at risk for hard-working families, Republicans need to stop the chaos and sort themselves out in a hurry, a comment that abdicated any responsibility the Democrats have for dealing with the problem. For 8 years under the Obama administration, the Democrats sat idly by, watching the former president increase this nation's debt by $1 trillion every year, a 68% increase. They kept kicking the can down the road, knowing that the next person to come into office would have to deal with the financial irresponsibility of the Obama administration. With it being Trump, a person they very much dislike, it seems that they are more than willing to see the United States default on its loans in order to destroy the Trump administration for good. The president himself said that now we have a big deal with Dems holding them up, as usual, on debt ceiling approval. Could have been so easy, now a mess. The Democrats are playing a nightmarish game of chicken, in which they are refusing to back down despite the looming threats of America defaulting on its loans. To put things in perspective, many top economists and government officials felt that the 2008 crisis, if the government didn't bail the Wall Street banks out, could have led to a financial meltdown with global ramifications. If just a few key investment banks could cause that much of a danger, imagine the chaotic scale of events that would unfold if the United States announced it can't pay its debts anymore, or even declared bankruptcy. Of course, the US dollar isn't just any normal currency. Used throughout the globe as a reserve currency of sorts, our historically strong dollar has been an important part of our nation's economic dominance. Should trust in the dollar collapse, as it would if the United States failed to comply with its debts, we could see a situation where nations all across the world got rid of their reserves of US dollars, resulting in a spiraling crash that would devastate the US economy. One might question, since the United States is able to alter the supply of US dollars by simply printing more into existence, why there couldn't just be more money printed. Similar to the quantitative easing done by Ben Bernanke in the post-2008 years, it is possible to just print more money as a short-term solution to deal with America's debts. The problem here is that not only would this not solve anything and only kick the proverbial can down the road again, it would also accelerate inflation, devaluing the savings of average Americans across the nation. The last thing anyone wants is a situation like in Weimar, Germany, where citizens needed to haul a wheelbarrow full of money just to purchase one loaf of bread. The debt situation facing this country is perhaps the biggest financial threat facing America's survival, and the fact that the Democrats are more interested in playing politics than facing it is disturbing, to say the least. Nancy Pelosi is letting people know that she would rather see this nation implode financially than work together with Trump. Is Pelosi responsible for the lack of Democratic support for anything Trump-related? What do you think about this? Please share this news.
Greetings, citizens of the world. Senator Chuck Schumer, DNY, is taking a page from Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel's playbook. "You never let a serious crisis go to waste," said the mayor in what is now known as Rahm's Rule. While the entire country is attempting to recover from the bloody protests in Charlottesville, Virginia, Senator Schumer is trying to capitalize on the latest crisis. In an article he penned for Medium.com, the New York senator argues that President Trump's Advisory Commission on Election Integrity is a continuation of the racism and violence that took place in Charlottesville, and must be stopped. The argument is incredibly convenient. Essentially, Chuck Schumer can attack President Trump over entirely partisan lines, while making nominal gestures to Charlottesville, in order to retain his false sense of moral superiority. The President's Election Integrity Commission and the actions of the Attorney General are wolves in sheep's clothing. They are a ruse. Their only intention is to disenfranchise voters, Schumer asserts without any evidence. Essentially, the very act of investigating election fraud makes President Trump a racist. When the president began his Election Integrity Commission, it raised a lot of eyebrows. Schumer continues. But now, given what's happened in the last several weeks, we've entered a new world, and it's even more important that the commission be disbanded. In other words, Schumer says he would have opposed the Election Integrity Commission even if there were no protests in Charlottesville. He claims the commission is an act of intimidation against voters. The despicable violence from Virginia has offered a cudgel that the Democrats can use to beat over President Trump's head, even though President Trump has offered nothing but condemnation of the Virginia violence. Any educated reader would be quick to point out that a Ku Klux Klan rally in Virginia has absolutely nothing to do with reviewing the rate of voter fraud. However, this minor inconvenience would never stop Schumer from pushing his partisan agenda. In his Medium article, Schumer claims that President Trump failed to unite the nation after the violence in Charlottesville. He argues that ending the Election Commission is the only option for uniting the nation. However, he never explains how this would work. Senator Schumer says President Trump's Advisory Commission on Election Integrity is a continuation of the racism and violence in Charlottesville. Is it racist to ensure the integrity of voting records? The Medium article is also factually inaccurate. Despite Schumer's assertion, President Trump immediately spoke out against white supremacy. "We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry and violence," President Trump said hours after 33-year-old Heather Heyer died in the Virginia protests. Unfortunately for Schumer, his recent argument, and others like it, have lost all merit. President Trump's election commission would have been labeled racist regardless of what happened in Charlottesville. Accusing President Trump of racism is the only argument the Democrats have left, and it is quickly losing steam. Instead, Schumer only revealed himself to be a cold and callous man. The New York